Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ibelice Perez Contreras. I'm 22 years old, and I'm going to talk about globalization, its impacts, and causes and consequences. So here I have, which is some concept of globalization, and I can say that globalization is a worldwide movement toward economic, financial, trade and communications integration. Globalization implies the opening of local and nationalistic perspective or a broader outlook of an interconnected and independent world with free transfer of capital, goods and services across national frontier. However, it doesn't include unhindered movement of labor and, as suggested by some economists, may hurt smaller or fragile economics if applied indiscriminately. While they cannot be measured with the same ease, some other feathers of globalization are perhaps even more interesting. An increasing share of consumptions consist of goods that are available from the same companies almost anywhere in the world. The technology that is used to produce this good is increasingly standardized and invariable to the location of productions. Above all, ideas have increasingly become property of the whole of humanity. So when we are going to talk about causes and effects of globalization, I can say that first of all, globalization is a positive thing and its benefit a country who, for example, specialize in the certain products that then exchange that product with other countries. But it doesn't only have positive aspects. There are the disadvantages that have to be considered, which I will point out about this topic. Economic integration and free trade conditions have produced an unstoppable movement toward economic globalization. Most economics applaud the trend pointing to the modernization and growing wealth have resulted, but many countries have been forgotten or have even been harmed by globalization. So, what have been the positive and negative effects of this globalization trend? First, of the principal cause of and effect of globalization is international trade, which has spanned substantially. Growing trade has often been followed by higher economic growth. Although, no, in all cases, for example, annual growth rates of GDP is easy, and Southern Asia were 6 to 8%, and in Latin America and Sub-Saharan Africa they average less than 0.5% per year. On the other hand, there is an employment effect. While growing trade has generally created more jobs, the paradox grow in competition have forces many companies to fire their workers in order to cut costs, thus eventually and increasing profiles, especially some lesser developed country which had to deal with his negative effect. China, which has experienced a strong economic growth in recent years, has begun to struggle with employment, particularly in urban areas. So it becomes obvious that globalization is also accomplished with negative aspects. So in another thing, another case that I can say is about causes is that it is clear that availability of cheap, rapid, and reliable communication that persists or permeates such phenomena, just as this is the key to the integration of the international capital markets. I can say too that, of course, it needs a reasonable pieces work to introduce economic agents to exploit the opportunities for globalization presented by technological process, but the technological basis for the phenomena of globalization implies the varying an end to the Pax American or else extremely various law considers actions to reverse the process. Globalization is here to stay. So when we are talking about causes, consequences, in this case, I can say that globalization must be expected to influence the contribution of income as well as its level. So far as the contribution of incomes between countries is concerned, Stan's theory would lead one to expect that all countries would benefit. Economists have long preached that trade is mutually beneficial, and most of us believe that the experience of widespread growth alongside rapidly growing trade in the post-war period serves as substantial that similarly most FDI goes where a multinational has intellectual capital that can contribute something to the local economic, and it's therefore likely to be mutual beneficial and investor that recipe and a flow of capital that finances a real investment is again likely to benefit both parties, since the fields of the investment is expected to be higher benefitables that the rate of interest is borrowing has to pay, while that rate is interest is also that the rate of interest is higher, so the lender could expect at home, since otherwise there would have been no incentive to send it a war. Losers talk about the free trade making to rich country richer than poor country. Poor funds not supposed in economic analysis, nor is there any reason for supporting that the North benefit itself at the expense of the South by exporting import restriction like non-tariff barriers or agricultural sense-file. Standard theory says that while this does indeed employers and South, the public in the North also suffer any loss more than the produced gain. This suggests that promising a strategy for eliminating such barriers is to seek coalitions with North consumers rather than it engage in North Basin, which will sample alliances potential North allies. So this is all for today. This is my final production. So thank you so much for hearing me. Have a good afternoon.